welcome back to House of R. I'm Joanna Robinson. I officially live in Los Angeles. That's Mallory Rubin. She lives in the same town I do. How you doing, Mallory?
It's the thrill of my life to share a studio, a podcast, a city, a creative mind, a rich and vibrant experience, and a life with you. And I'd also like to say, nice shot, Leibowitz!
Okay.
Memento!
Nice. Memento. Here we are. Okay, so it is 25-ish years later.
Right. Yeah.
Memento, part of our Nolan trek to the Odyssey.
Yeah.
This is something that we have been doing slowly but surely, and then we're going to have to ramp it up.
3 months
because
away.
The Odyssey will be here quite soon, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movies left. It's fine. We're halfway there.
Yeah, we're halfway. Exactly.
It's time for everything to go from black and white to color, and we'll get into all of Memento right after this. Okay, before we go backwards and forwards in time and explore the limitations of memory and reality and all of that, just a small task here for the beginning of the week for us. What else do we have going on this week? Here's what's happened.
Yes.
We watched a couple episodes of Daredevil and we were like, that was pretty nice, but it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we watched the beginning of, I'm going to say we watched the beginning of episode 4 and we went, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Daredevil episode 4.
Yeah.
Our guy Dex, my guy Dex, but
yeah.
he can be ours if you want to share him.
Sure. Yeah.
Feeding cats, doing all sorts of stuff. So we're going to do a Daredevil mid-season check-in later this week.
We are.
We're going to watch episode 5, then we will do a sort of halfway through the season.
I'm expecting big things for episode 5. Just feels like the mid-season mark. Something fun should happen. Great time to check back in.
Yeah, you have some theories. We'll see how they pan out.
It's just a long way into the season for certain characters to not have appeared, so my hopes are high. We'll find out.
Okay, so that's something we have coming up. I have some like big plans for May. Now that I'm here in studio, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about that. So we will see what comes in May. But there's a lot going on, a lot that we're excited for.
Yes.
Not to mention House of the Dragons coming later on, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah.
Mallory Rubin, how can folks keep track of everything we're doing?
Well, follow the pod. Follow House of R on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch full video episodes of House of R. Here we are in our beautiful new studio together. What a wonderful thing. What a wonderful thing. You can also follow House of R on our new Instagram and TikTok at House of R Pod. And you can send us your emails because the inbox is always open, hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com.
Okay, so the Nolan trek.
That's right.
Here we are.
Yes.
As I mentioned, 6 more films to go.
Yes.
2 Batman films.
Yeah.
Some lesser works, The Following and Insomnia.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tenet.
That's right.
And then the big boy Oppenheimer.
Tenet definitely, I think, the leader in the like bad babies reaching out and saying, give Tenet the appropriate consideration that it deserves.
All we are saying is give Peace and Tenet a chance. That's what our listeners are saying.
I am excited to revisit Tenet. I truly am. It's been a minute since I saw that and could not hear a single word that was uttered in it. So I'm excited.
Well, watching it at home with the closed captioning on, it might be just like a completely different experience for you. Are you going to do the closed captioning when you watch it?
I don't think I'll have a choice. I mean, I'll watch it without, and then I'll watch it again with. But I did watch it at home the first time, and that made no difference.
And then you'll watch it backwards.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is the like sort of most spiritual twin to Memento is Tenet?
I think that obviously like one of the fun things about doing this Nolan revisitation in the run up to the Odyssey is realizing how many of the films not only navigate like memory or the dreamscape or something, but the idea of time and the passage of time, both in our lives, but also structurally and formally in the process of making a movie. So the non-linear nature of this movie, I think certainly Tenet is difficult not to think about, especially given that this is like early in his career and Tenet is late in his career. That's like a fascinating thing across many, many years, decades of storytelling. But, you know, Dunkirk, the like distillation of time inside of certain storylines that we're moving in, and how we realize as you watch that movie, like time is passing differently inside of those 3 storylines compared to Interstellar, time dilation. Obviously, Inception, Limbo, the way that time moves more quickly as you go deeper down the layers, etc. So many of his films. I mean, it's also like the theme of great men, which we've talked about across the episodes, the dead wives. The through lines are like really undeniable, which has been like, again, part of the fun of the journey here.
The dead wife text.
No question. No question.
Patient zero.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
All right. So let's get into some quick facts.
Great.
Directed by Christopher Nolan. Have you heard of him?
I have.
Screenplay by Chris Nolan, based on the short. It's complicated, but based-ish on the short story Memento Mori by my beloved Jonathan Nolan. U.S. wide release March 16th, 2001. Budget $5 to $9 million.
Yeah.
On the cheap.
Wild.
This was made on the cheap. Box office domestic $25 million. International $14 million. So worldwide $39 million return on a $5 to $9 million investment.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Would have cost more if Brad Pitt had been in it. Certainly.
We'll talk about that.
But pretty fucking good. And obviously a movie that has a lasting cultural impact and legacy and level of adoration that well exceeds that already impressive gap between what it cost to make and what it earned at the box office. This is a movie that people have a lot of affection for, and maybe more accurate than affection is admiration for. I think this is something that people consider like a very impressive feat of filmmaking, and something that very early in the Nolan brother run declared them as not only like intellectual filmmakers, but filmmakers of bold intention, which is one of the things I really love about it, especially as we are considering 25 years of movie making.
I mean, I love this movie. I think I talked about this, how my friend and I watched this right before we went to go see Inception in theaters. We like rewatched Memento at home. And
how high
were
you on that day?
We were on Red Bull, but no other drugs.
Okay.
So close enough. But we went to like a midnight showing of Inception. So it was like this.
Oh my God.
From, like 9 to 11. And then we went to go see Inception from midnight to whatever. So
what a journey.
It was a great evening. Had a great time.
Sounds like it.
This is a huge calling card for a director. But I think what's interesting, you mentioned Brad Pitt. I think if they had gotten Brad Pitt to be in this movie, then this becomes part of like a Brad Pitt mindfuck trilogy with Seven and with Fight Club. And so what becomes really clear when you think, I mean, like they bleached Guy Pearce's hair. Like they're clearly trying to invoke Brad here, right?
No doubt. Yeah.
And so in doing so, it's very clear that Nolan is trying in a way to make a Fincher movie here. And so there's a lot of smudgy fingerprints of all the things that he's interested in terms of like time and memory and all of the things that you've mentioned, and a lot of that formal, how do we mess with the flow of time, or color versus black and white, or different layers of reality, all that sort of stuff. Like there's stuff that is undeniably Nolan, but I think is really fun to watch as a young new filmmaker trying to sort of belong to a trend, which then later, and to a certain degree, when Nolan makes the Batman films, he's also trying to sort of be part of an existent, and then eventually we'll get to things that we just call, this is a Nolan movie.
Yes.
That's not an honorific he had yet here at the beginning of his career.
Right.
He's just trying to sort of like, in Jonathan Nolan's idea of what if there's a guy who cannot form new memories?
Yes.
And then in Christopher Nolan's idea of what if I tell this story backwards?
It's amazing.
Let's just put a hat on a hat and do that, you know? So those two ideas combined create this incredible confection. But once again, he's sort of, it's fun to watch directors at the beginning of their career really sort of try to play in structures that were created by other people, buildings that were created by other people. And certainly Fincher is playing in buildings that were created by other people.
Yeah.
And then slowly just sort of create landscapes, entire worlds that are their very own.
I love that. And, I think we've been getting at aspects of that as we've gone, because we haven't gone. We can pretend it was just deliberately that we were always intending to do the entire filmography and decided not to go in chronological order. But we started with like, these are 3 movies, a couple of which have anniversaries last year, and one of which we just really want to talk about because we're talking about these others. And then we thought, the Odyssey is next year. Let's do them all, right? And so we've had moments to consider like a version of that. But I really agree with you that this is a great moment to kind of present that thesis more fully, because what we were talking about a few minutes ago with these through lines, these undeniable strands of DNA that are like inextricable from all aspects of consideration when Nolan is like, this is a story that I am drawn to and this is my version of it that I want to tell. But one of the things that is, I think, like so consistently intriguing about him as a filmmaker is that he does dabble in those different genres. And so you have here not only the other filmmakers who he admires, who their influence is present here, but then you read these stories about like, oh, Soderbergh was like, I got to help get this movie distributed, right? All of these things track and make sense. You have something like Dunkirk, which is a period piece. You have something like Oppenheimer, which is a historical drama at astonishing scale. So he has never ceased being interested in dabbling across different genres. And yet we did hit that point, as you noted, where it's like that becomes part of a Venn diagram, but the largest circle is like, this is a Nolan movie. The Nolan movies are always going to be another genre. I mean, he's about to do the Odyssey.
Right.
Like, that's like the ultimate genre movie in some ways.
A grand literary adaptation, a biopic, this, that, a World War II epic, like all of this sort of stuff. And then, but they all in their own way. And, we haven't seen the Odyssey. We don't know how we know the story, but we don't know exactly how it's structured.
Right.
But in
there will be something funky.
But in thinking about, watching Memento and thinking about watching Leonard think about his wife, watching Cobb think about his wife, we know that Odysseus is going to be thinking about his wife.
No question.
This is
trying to get home.
And like in terms of when will we be flashing back to the war versus Odysseus's sort of adventures on the sea versus like what happens when he gets home, in what order will all of those stories be told?
There is zero chance that it is sequentially.
Non-linear is what we would have to guess. And so that's exciting to me to think about that.
And like to be at the early days here where it's like smaller and cheaper and more street level, that feels so... It's because they're early in their careers. It's out of necessity. It's practical at the time, but like it feels so appropriate because he's telling a gritty tale, right? There's a thriller aspect. I am navigating the streets of my former life, trying to figure out this thing. There's a noir quality to it. Certainly the California setting is like helpful in that respect. It's not the last time, obviously, that Nolan was interested in somebody in the story or us as the audience engaging with a mystery. But when you get to like Prestige, a movie we both love and have already talked about, there are so many puzzle elements to that movie, much as there are here. It could not feel like more distinct in terms of the style of it than Memento does. And so his ability to like kind of strike that balance where each movie is a little bit new, right? Obviously we have like the Batman trilogy, but you have a space movie. They're all a little bit new in terms of the setting and the genre that they dabble in. But everything inside of them is unmistakably Nolan. Like you can't watch one of these movies and not know that it's a Chris Nolan movie.
I think also that something that we clocked, I think initially when we were talking about Inception, this idea of legibility, however confusing and naughty with a K the structure is, right? You can follow what's happening because there are clues that will help you, whether we're in black and white or we're in color, but also it rewards rewatching. Definitely. And this is something, this is baked into the story we're watching here when we see Leonard's wife talking about rereading a book and the pleasure of rereading a book, And so Nolan's like, come rewatch my films. And if you rewatch, especially my like most mysterious films, you will see the answers were always there right at the beginning for you.
Right.
Leonard's wearing a suit that doesn't fit him right from the very beginning. Like you there are questions you can ask yourself from the very, very beginning of this movie.
It fits him better than it should, but yes. It is right away something that you mark.
There's just a lot that's just right there at the very beginning of the movie for you that upon rewatch becomes more and more and more satisfying. And it can be disorienting to watch a Christopher Nolan movie for the first time, but I don't think you're ever at sea so much that you can't follow the emotional reality of what's going on. And for this, especially I would say in light of the idea of this fitting inside of the world of Fight Club or Seven.
Yes.
Two movies that I really, really like, but I don't feel as emotionally connected to as I do to this movie. And this is, my ongoing thesis being that like when Jonathan and Chris work together, that is the perfect pairing of sentimentality and intellect to create this kind of story that I respond to best. And so I think Leonard's quest being so emotionally rooted in the pain of the loss of his wife and his inability to properly grieve her, right?
Yep.
how can I heal if I can't feel time? You know, like
Devastating.
all of these sort of ideas. That is stickier to me than some of the like, albeit very fun sort of like social critique aspects of particularly Fight Club, but also Seven. But among all of those three stories and a lot of what Nolan likes to tell after this is this idea of, can we ever know ourselves? Are we always the most unreliable narrator to ourselves?
Right.
And that's, I love, thinking about that when it comes to The Prestige, thinking about that when it comes to this movie. Leonard is an unreliable narrator for us, but like more importantly, an unreliable narrator for himself.
Yes. And it's one of the really indelible spoilers for the rest of the way. One of the most indelible aspects of the movie, and I think there are honestly any point and stretch of the film, you could say like this is the most memorable visual, or this is the line or idea. It's part of. I'm excited about the categories today because I think it's the hardest exercise yet in isolating a specific moment or scene. Because inherently the nature of the way the movie is told is that the black and white sequences are moving chronologically in one direction, the color sequences are moving backwards, and they always overlap a little bit to give you that connective tissue to understand how they're being stitched together. But that bleed, it's, like anytime we get something wrong or forget something on the pod today, we just have the meta cover of like, well, it's just really, we're just like channeling Leonard's spirit here. But, the fact that the choice, I agree with you. I think that the movie, because the movie invites you to be such a sleuth as you're watching it, there's like a little bit of comfort that grants. You understand right away that you're not supposed to understand right away, right? And so trying to figure it out and piece it together is part of the fun. There's like a really kind of engaging, immersive, like almost experiential quality to watching Memento, certainly for the first time. But I agree with you. I think I will say that was an interesting part of prepping for this pod, was like revisiting some of the commentary around it when it first came out. And, if this were rewatchables, Bill would be pulling Ebert quotes and stuff. And like, there's definitely a little bit of a, when I came back to it a second time, like it wasn't as fun. That's not my experience or your experience with it. And I don't think it will be many of our listeners' experience with it. I think it is such an interesting thing to like identify those strands and look for those clues on a rewatch.
I agree. I can understand that like if the biggest pleasure you derive was sort of the twist or something like that, then you're like, well, I know the twist, but that's not how you and I watch things.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I think like the way that structure serves as, I mean, this is a movie featuring mirrors in a number of respects, right? Mirrors so that you can see backwards tattoos, etc.
Photographs.
Photographs. Boy, really makes you want to have a Polaroid and take pictures. And the compressed Polaroid that like you can kind of wear as a little purse. Great stuff.
I love that. There's a number of times where he's like sort of adjusting it, and it reminds me of like a gun holster.
Exactly. Yeah. And I actually it had been a few years since I had seen Memento, and so the first time I was rewatching this a couple weeks ago, like I had to pause. I was like, is that because there are many guns in the film as well. And you're like, oh no, right. That's how he carries the Polaroid. Really fun. But, the structure is putting us intentionally, deliberately in that mirror position for Leonard. Leonard can't remember more than the few moments he is inhabiting and his life before the injury, right? That is his, to use his word, condition. And so the fact that we are watching those events backwards puts us in that exact spot that he's inhabiting. We only know what he knows in that moment. We can't know what came before because we haven't seen it yet.
Right.
He can't know what came before because he can't remember it. Right. And that's just a really, really brilliant and interesting choice that unlocks a degree of empathy for you as a viewer that then makes you either really destabilized by what happens at the end or complicit in it. And obviously, I think one of the things we'll talk about today is like where we stand on, do you believe what Teddy says? One of the things that's interesting about the movie is kind of doesn't matter because Leonard makes the choice that he makes anyway to say, you're going to be my John G, right? But it's just like, boy, it's fun. It's thematically rich. It's really well performed. And it's like very tidy and contained for a film with such big ideas and intention. Like it's so compact compared to so many of Nolan's like sweeping grand epics that follow. It's really interesting to consider.
And I think that to your point about the shoestring budget and the compact nature, again, like Christopher Nolan, such a new filmmaker, getting this movie made with, it's made on a shoestring, but Guy Pearce is coming off of LA Confidential. Carrie-Anne Moss is coming off The Matrix.
That's right.
Joe Pantoliano is coming off The Matrix. You know, like these are three actors who are coming off some of the buzziest films that ever were in the late 90s. And so there was a lot of shine and excitement to it. I remember, so this is like really early days of me reading movie blogs. This is like the beginning of me being like someone who reads entertainment websites. And there was the one that I got sucked into because they had a robust Buffy the Vampire Slayer message board. But the one I got sucked into was a Canadian website called Corona. It was like corona.bc.ca, I believe was the URL. Does not exist anymore. I didn't even like go on the Wayback Machine. I should have to just poke around. But I was on there every day. That was like my entertainment website, and I was on the message boards. And I wasn't like a. Anyway,
were you like, posting or just reading?
No, I would post a little bit, but like there, you know, in the early days of message boards, maybe this is still the case, probably still the case in like certain subreddits or whatever. There are people who are like, you're like, oh, I remember that person. I was not like a memorable person on these message boards. I was very young and very like new to the internet. But what I remember is the first news write-up I saw of this movie coming out. The guy who ran the website would just call it Otnamem. He would just write it backwards all the time because of the structure of the story.
I love it.
And it was just like a bit that he did. And I just like, that's how I say it in my head. I just say Otnamem.
Really?
Yeah, I say Otnamem in my head.
Oh my God. It imprinted on you.
Yeah.
I love knowing this about you.
So that's
a beautiful memory.
But I just think that like, so Chris Nolan, early in his career, getting this movie made with the help of an idea germ from his brother who was still in school, and his girlfriend, who is now his wife and his enduring producing partner, Emma. Emma got this in front of the right people so that it could get made. So it's like it's a family affair in every way. Emma gets a tattoo parlor named after herself in this movie.
Yeah.
But but I love that it's just sort of like made with the family structure around him that he still very much, interacts with and relies upon. You mentioned the Brad Pitt of it all.
Yes.
Initially cast, had to pass on it due to scheduling conflict. The Brad Pitt what if of was cast in Almost Famous and dropped out. So Billy Crudup says, thank you very much. And was cast in this and couldn't do it. And so Guy Pearce says, thank you so much for this, building block of my career. An interesting what if for Brad Pitt here in 2000.
I mean, Brad Pitt's, just obviously always great. I do think that we agree that Almost Famous just shouldn't be touched. So any kind of alternate history there is
I know. But I think about Sarah Polley all the time. I love Kate Hudson as Penny Lane, but Sarah Polley as Penny Lane is a different movie, and it's really intriguing to me. Yeah.
I think Guy Pearce is wonderful as Leonard. Brad Pitt would have killed this.
Brad Pitt would have killed this, but I think that he would have just overshadowed it. It would have been a Brad Pitt movie. It wouldn't have been a Chris. I don't think it would have been as much of a calling card for Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
It would have burnished Brad Pitt's, career.
Yeah. Or would even more people right away have discovered it because it was Brad Pitt, and even more people right away have said like, oh my God, what are these Nolan brothers up to?
Some other options here. Charlie Sheen, horrible.
That's a no. Yeah.
Alec Baldwin, possible. 2000 Alec Baldwin, I can see it.
Interesting.
Aaron Eckhart, Nolan will come back to him.
He sure will. Yeah.
Tom Jane. I love Tom. Like if you
he would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would have been good.
If you think about, The Expanse, like what Tom Jane does at the beginning of The Expanse, this is like essentially the same role. So I'm a big Tom Jane fan personally. But Guy Pearce, fantastic. Coming off of LA Confidential, so people are like very used to him in this noir setting, his voiceover work in this. I was a huge Priscilla Queen of the Desert fan. So Guy, I don't know if have you seen Priscilla Queen of the Desert?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. Guy Pearce, Hugo Weaving, Terrence Stamp. It is like one of the best movies that has ever. But Guy Pearce is doing something so entirely different in that movie. So like seeing Priscilla Queen of the Desert and then LA Confidential and then this, I was like, Guy Pearce is going to be the biggest movie star in the whole world. And that didn't happen for him. And I'm curious if he's in enough. Despite it just being on the rewatchables, how rewatchable for younger generations is LA Confidential? Memento certainly is part of Nolan's filmography, has to be like sort of essential viewing for certain people. And then
Killian, MCU.
Right. Iron Man, but I was thinking about this, like there isn't a friend, he's not in a Matrix, or he wasn't in Lord of the Rings, or, like there isn't a thing that I know that everyone watches all the time.
Right.
But
and the
even
Brutalist boys are just eating, they're thriving,
he kills them, Brutalist.
He's really fucking good in the
Prometheus
Brutalist.
fans are like, what are you talking about? It's Guy Pearce. But I don't know. I'm curious, like, what his hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com, if you're a young listener of this podcast, do you know who Guy Pearce is?
Oh man, this is a sad question to even have to ask.
I think he should be, but I don't know.
This bums me out. I love Guy Pearce. I've always loved him, and I'll save this for one of the categories that we have today. But I did find myself really, especially because you get a few movies into Nolan's filmography, and as we have tracked across the pods, he uses so many of the same performers across his film, and I was like, boy. You know who never showed up again? Turns out there's an answer for that, which we'll get to later in the pod. But he's just wonderful, and I think he has like such a presence. I find his Leonard to be like a really wonderful combination of heartwarming, and you feel so keenly and deeply for him so quickly, and there are these moments of just like grave despair, and then you watch him do these things, and obviously he's navigating this life circumstances, so even when he does these things, you have this level of like empathy and understanding and forgiveness, and then you get to the end and you're like, holy fuck. And he could just command all of that. I find the quality of especially in the black and white sequences, the phone calls, there is and so much of the movie is just his voice. Mm-hmm. There is a like lullaby, like hypnotic quality to the way that he is speaking in those scenes that really kind of heightens that effect of I'm sucked in full. This has my complete attention, but I'm also like Leonard, will I just like snap to and like there's just something that kind of like lulls you.
Lulled into it.
Into this like hypnotic state. So that's really interesting. I think he's great. LA Confidential is one of my dad's favorite movies like ever. So, that is one of my main associations. But I do think for me, with, love and respect to Iron Man 3, I think Memento is like my first association with Guy Pearce all these years later.
It's not a bad one.
Yeah.
I honestly think the movie of his that I've seen the most is Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. But I think that any answer is a good answer for Guy Pearce. And I do think that he should have been even bigger than he was. I think there's something about, the timbre of his voice, the slight what's going on there of his like sort of Australian English accent that's part of it. Like his American accent is very good, but there is just slightly off.
There's a specificity to how he's speaking that is part of it. For sure.
That is very interesting. This played Venice Film Festival, then TIFF, then Sundance, which is in the model of Memento, a very unusual order for a movie to play. Like Venice then TIFF is normal, but to go from TIFF to Sundance is like that's usually the previous year it would have played Sundance or something like that. But that is how we got it. And another fun fact that I think is just really interesting to think about at the time is that Jonathan Nolan designed the website for Memento, and they were going for a real like Blair Witch Project viral moment, which they will revisit again when they do the Dark Knight. Right. The Joker stuff was very inspired by this. But I just like, it's just such of a moment of just like, we're making a mystery box movie. We've built a weird little website, like come enjoy, come welcome into our world,
There are a lot of great little aspects of this film's like kind of early stretch of time. The DVD menu, like Leonard's tattoos, like things that just feel so.
You can unlock the chronological order if you if you get the right answers to some questions.
Yeah, which is like a great and smart way to include like a bonus feature on a DVD if you wanted to watch this like in order. And it's interesting too to like hear Nolan talk over the years about like, and this makes complete sense, crafting the story that way initially, and then of course breaking it up and reordering it to actually make the movie. Like, you would need to understand what the story was in sequence. It's a fascinating thing. But watching it that way, which I've never done, but would be interested to do.
I've done it. Yeah.
Would just be like such a radically different experience.
I think it's an interesting experiment, but it's not like a more rewarding experience.
Yeah, and I imagine it's like quite a bit like less rewarding actually as an experience, which then you start to get into like how much of what makes the movie so effective is the story itself versus the structure. Right. And that's like an interesting thing to consider. But then, I thought because this was a Jonathan Nolan idea and story, and he did publish
Memento Mori,
which like in just this recent stretch of time makes me, of course, think right away of Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
28 years later, wonderful association to have with that incredible scene. The fact that was published, even though the story existed and was the germ of this film, that was then published after, so it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the Academy Awards, is just like a fascinating kind of meta, like a fascinating little bit of sequencing there that it's just like an interesting little nugget in the history of the film.
Something I've mentioned a couple times when going through this Nolan filmography, especially the for the Jonah Nolan movies that we've covered, is that when I was trying to unlock the mystery of season 1 of Westworld, I spent a lot of time studying Jonathan Nolan's other stories to really help me understand like what he was most interested in, these theses. And I think Inception, Prestige, and this movie were incredibly instructive to me in understanding. I don't need to spoil Westworld season 1 for anyone, even though you cannot find Westworld anymore. It like has kind of, it's not on HBO anymore.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's like vanished.
What?
It's true.
Oh no.
Kai Grady and I were looking for it the other day because we were both like, we're the only ones we know who like watched all of Westworld. But
jeez.
The mystery of season 1 of Westworld is so twisty and fun, and I will not spoil it for people. But in order to figure it out before it was revealed on the show, which was something, I was only able to do because I would like study. And so like when you watch Leonard talk about memory and healing and the way in which his memory prevents him from processing his grief or understanding love in the passage of time. Where you think about in Interstellar, I think I said Inception earlier, I meant Interstellar. When you think about Interstellar and you think about Anne Hathaway's character talking about love as this force that like, stretches across galaxies and stuff like that. And then you watch Westworld, and without spoiling what the twist is, like you watch someone struggle with their memory and flashes of memory and sort of disassociating into different parts of their own timeline. That I like, it's just fascinating to me that these ideas were here from the very beginning for these brothers and for Jonathan Nolan especially, So when I think about like what is the piece of art that was most influenced by Memento, I think it might be Westworld actually, which again, like I don't know how enduring that is, but it was a huge, like the first season of Westworld
was incredible.
Massive and like incredibly good. And I'm really grateful that it exists. And I don't think it exists without this movie existing. So, and that idea still kicking around inside of his head,
I love that. And I like having the Jonathan Nolan version of that, given how much time we've emphasized that idea for Christopher Nolan, what are the through lines even in a different form. And like, memory. This is such a specific way to explore a specific challenge with memory. Like Leonard has gone through a trauma, and an emotional one and a physical one, and cannot form new memories, right?
But can create lies for himself.
But and
not
everything
just like,
about the way the film explores conditioning and the habits.
That's what I mean. Like the remember Sammy Jenkins like sort of like lie that he concocts for himself, that he can upon repetition. Only every time I see it, like, do you tell me that story?
Exactly.
He has conditioned himself into this thing. I think that's the most fascinating thing is like you can't form new memories.
Yeah.
But you can form a new lie, you can plant a false memory.
Yeah, and you can form the parameters for how you navigate your circumstance, right? And the things that you tell other people and yourself. And so like, memory as a concept to explore and a thing to play with and specifically a lens to then examine questions of like, well, who are you? Based on what your connection to your own memory is. And I love the way like, this will come up in some of the categories, but like when Leonard kind of tears down memory and props up fact as like a, champions fact as the thing that you can really put your trust in, and then you come to understand like what it means to think that way. But like, there are so many different reasons that a person's memory can be affected, right? Illness, trauma, injury, technology, like the way that you explore
advanced
what happens. It's debilitating fatigue.
Some of us are just like huffing creatine to try to preserve our crumbling brains.
Yes, exactly. So
like
this is such a specific rendering of it, but it does tap into larger questions. And I love that more broadly. As we've talked about this many times over the years, a number of podcasts, like, and Black Mirror pods, talking about like an episode like Playtest or something, which is not my favorite Black Mirror episode, but is one I really admire because, this question of like, can you trust your own mind is always a fascinating one because like, what does it mean if you can't? And how do you navigate that? And there are obviously really devastating things that people can go through as they are grappling with that. And it can happen slowly and you can be really aware of it, or it can happen just instantly and you have no ability to like even understand what has happened until it has. It's like one of the more unmooring aspects of your humanity that you could have to like learn to relate to and assess in a new way. And so the fact that Leonard is such a active interrogator of his own memory is like one of the things that makes this such a unique way to explore what memory means. He's as consciously aware of it as he could possibly be.
No, but he is and he isn't, because like you watch him set up these parameters for himself.
Yeah.
And then you watch someone on the phone just be like, he's actually a drug dealer.
Right.
And he just like scratches out his own note, just takes the, never answer the phone, but just like takes the word of someone. Like we watch him be led by Natalie, by all these people. You know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, just he is aware that he can't form new memories. Like he is aware of his core circumstance or his condition. And that awareness guides every choice he makes, however passively or actively.
I hear how we're like agreeing and disagreeing, but I do think there is just like his certainty of like, poor Sammy couldn't do these things, but I figured out a system, so I'm fine.
Yes.
So there's like there's an awareness, but there's just this self-delusion.
Oh, of course.
Just like all the ways in which he is just like completely unself-aware.
Yes.
And like, again, how can any of us actually be aware of ourselves? And I think that is like something that Christopher Nolan especially really believes, is that we are all delusional and we all cannot see ourselves clearly. And all of these great men, when we talk about Oppenheimer, when we talk about all these other things, just sort of like there are things that Oppenheimer, let's say as a person, is aware of, the things that the damage that he has done to the world that he is aware of that weighs heavy on him.
Yeah.
And then there are personal actions that he has enacted that he is just sort of completely blind to.
That's the dissonance that I think is so rich. Leonard is aware on an almost like intellectual, like theoretical level of the context of a circumstance.
Yeah.
But he is not aware of his own ability to navigate that, because how could he, based on the specifics of this condition? But also because how can any person be, right? And so like you get to something like Teddy saying at the end, Sammy, gonna throw this out there, like it was your wife who needed the insulin, right? It was your wife who was a diabetic. And the way that you flash to this pinch of the thigh that we had seen previously, and then we see it with the insulin
needle.
syringe, and then we flash back again to the pinch, and Leonard's like, no. But a seed of doubt he won't retain in a couple minutes, still
Honestly,
has the ability to like completely destabilize him in that moment. It's fascinating.
Honestly, my favorite line delivery of the whole movie is Joey Pants when he's like, my wife wasn't a diabetic. He goes, you sure?
Yeah.
And he's
I mean,
like,
Joey Pants is so fucking good in this
like,
movie.
You sure? And he kind of smiles at him in a way that's just like so diabolical.
He's
so
the
good.
best. He's amazing.
Yeah. Anything else do you want to say sort of broadly before we get into, there's a lot we can sort of
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
when it comes to our categories.
Let's get to our categories.
All right. Memento Top 15, a combination of superlatives and other sundries.
Lovely.
All right, we've shaved a few categories off because this doesn't, not all of the broader Nolan sort of big grand set piece ideas fit here in this movie.
Right.
Though I will say he said that he intentionally shot the motel. There's a couple motels in this movie, but the main motel in this movie to look like an MC Escher drawing, like where you just like are constantly confronted by like stairs and railings and all this sort of stuff like that, and doors, and Leonard's in two different rooms inside of the same motel, if only two, perhaps more, et cetera, et cetera. And so he's trying to make a Penrose staircase out of just an ordinary motel that he has only a couple mil to shoot at and stuff like that. So.
Where's Arthur to come in and say paradox, bitch?
Paradox, a bitch. All right. First category. Why so serious? Funniest line or moment of the movie.
So It's not the funniest film, but it does. There are funny moments.
I have a couple answers here. Yeah,
there are funny moments. So I had one Natalie nominee, and I have two Teddy contenders here. Okay. So I will go as my main pick before I hit the two runners up with when Leonard finds Teddy like waiting reclined in the Jag and says, "You're still here because of Natalie." And then Leonard says, "Who's Natalie?" And the way that Joey pants as Teddy says, "Schmuck, whose house do you think you just walked out of?" Like something about that schmuck just kills me. And then Leonard pulls out the Polaroids and Teddy says, "Oh, that's right. Take a look at your pictures. I bet you got one of her." And then looks at it. "Oh, nice shot, Leibowitz." Yeah. It's just incredible. It's really hysterical. It's like vintage Joey pants. So that is my pick. What is your winner here?
I mean, I think the most obvious one for me is I don't think they'd let someone like me carry a gun.
That's my runner-up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I fucking hope
not from Teddy.
That's
right?
my runner-up. It's so good.
On the gun front, though, nothing except the Gideon Bible where he pulls a door open and there's just a gun there.
Great moment. Genuinely great moment.
And then I think it's really funny, even though it's like very like sad and scary, when Natalie just hides all the pens. When she just takes all the pens with her and you don't know. For the first time, you don't really know sort of like why she's doing it or what she's done or whatever. But when you rewatch, I just think it's like very smart and really good. She grabbed
him with the quickness. Yeah. My Natalie nominee is when they're at the cafe and it's like, "So you have information for me? Is that what your little note says?" "Yeah." And then she says, "Must be tough living your life according to a couple scraps of paper. You mix your laundry list with your grocery list and you'll end up eating your underwear for breakfast."
Very good.
Tough feedback.
Anything else?
Well delivered. Nah, those were my top three.
Carrie-Anne Moss is really good at this movie. Okay.
She is.
You either die here or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Who is the real villain of this movie?
What's your pick?
Our healthcare system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The insurance system?
The healthcare, the health insurance
That's a great
system.
one.
Yeah. I might be living out with a pit too much, but I'm just sort of like, I was like, oh, this is an indictment of health insurance.
Yeah. It's the flashes to Leonard and the Jenkins family are quite distressing. Whatever level of reliability or unreliability is actually at play there. The scene in particular where like she visits him at the office and he's like, "We shouldn't even be talking," and this and that. That was just it's all quite upsetting.
Yeah.
Mine is just sort of like the thing we've talked about a lot already, which is just memory, but more specifically the way that memory is not presented as just like this haloed thing. You know, the fact that that we get to see from all angles. Well, okay, you see somebody who is struggling to grapple with the absence of the ability to form new memories, but then that person, Leonard, is saying like, when he basically lectures Teddy about memory's not even like not perfect, not even good. And then of course I think of something like The Affair, you know, and how we get like to see how unreliable memory is.
For me, it's Westworld. For you, it's The Affair. The text we will always come back to.
Exactly. And Leonard's like, "Facts, not memories. That's how you investigate." "I know. It's what I used to do. Look, memory can change the shape of a room. It can change the color of a car. And memories can be distorted. They're just an interpretation. They're not a record. And they're irrelevant if you have the facts." And you have moments where like Natalie, Teddy across different parts of the film say to Leonard a version of like, "You're not even going to remember this if you do it. Like if you get the vengeance you seek, will you even feel it?" And you know, very rewarding on a rewatch to see those seeds planted really early, knowing where we're going and the choice Leonard will make at the very end to hunt Teddy, to hunt John G. But this idea that memory is this missing thing that has radically altered his life and also something that he is saying, not only do I not need it, it is less helpful and less reliable and less sure than the fact that I can write on a paper and learn to trust my own handwriting. And like that is a warped idea that leads him to a very dark place. And so the way that we look at memory from all angles, depending on whose vantage point we're in a given moment and who is like espousing a certain idea, but then even when inside of one perspective, like Leonard's, we see a different relationship to that at the end is really fascinating.
The a fact that I learned that I didn't know before preparing for this pod is the license plate, that Teddy's license plate throughout this movie is 2 different license plates that Christopher Nolan swapped out on the car. And in one, it's the letter I, U at the end. And the other, it's the number 1 and U. Because Leonard writes down the license plate and he just draws a straight line. And the tattoo artist interprets that as a 1, but on the license plate, on the DMV thing, it's an I. But physically, the license plate in the color timeline is both.
Which is great.
Which is just like a fun little detail of just like, hey guys, what's reality? What's real anyway?
I love it.
The other, the Motel Industrial Complex.
Bert!
All right.
Oh, man.
Are you watching closely the most exquisitely gorgeous shot? Wally Pfister, longtime collaborator of Christopher Nolan, is on this movie here. It's the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yes.
What do you want to call out here?
Okay, so I am going with a bookend, but it's a joint pick. It's the both of my picks are Polaroid moments, a Polaroid early and a Polaroid late.
Yeah.
So the opening visual of the film that starts over the opening credits, the visual of the Polaroid, where the hand is shaking it. It's the peak of just the jankus.
Yeah.
Like you don't know yet, but you're starting to see things. And the way that the Polaroid is rewinding out of clarity, out of focus, out of development. It's a visual primer for us of like the way the movie is going to work, right? What the logic of the movie is going to be. It's obviously very like, whoa, what am I watching right away? There's the mystery of like what you're actually seeing in the Polaroid. Well, that's a lot of blood. Whose body is that? Like all of the questions right away. And again, the peak of the tattoo, because the Polaroid's the tattoo, the notes, there are all of these different aspects of the visual language, the tapestry of the film. And so you're getting a lot of that right away. And it's also just fucking cool and really memorable. And then at the end, the Polaroid is what melds the timelines with Jimmy G when we're looking in at the Jimmy G black and white Polaroid, and as it is developing, it morphs into color, and the timelines have connected at last. And that's there's like maybe like the first one is just the beginning of the movie. That's like maybe like 10-ish minutes left at the movie, but it's basically the end of the film.
Yeah.
And so the way that the Polaroids are visually deployed at the beginning and end to tell us how the time of the movie is going to function, and also just looks so like distinct and specific to this film. It's just great.
Does the bullet casing going into the gun give you Tenet flashbacks?
Sure. I mean, now it does. Yeah, now it does. No, it gives me Tenet hype and excitement to revisit that film that I have very little attachment to currently.
I mean, I think the Polaroid is the right answer. It is just so iconic, and the way it's used differently at the beginning and the end. But for me, I think it's the flash of Lenny in Sammy's seat. Like when you see Stephen Tobolowsky as Sammy in the chair in the institution, and someone walks past him, and for just a few frames, it's Guy Pearce as Lenny in the seat. And it's just sort of like, it's so quick, blink and you might miss it. Gotta watch this back at home, to sort of make sure. But like what that tells us about the story, and also that idea of like, even before you understand that perhaps, according to Teddy at least, Lenny's the one who killed his wife via insulin overdose. That idea of like pretending to recognize, like Stephen Tobolowsky is so good as Sammy, like really good casting, I think, but just sort of that like puppy dog look on his face as people walk by, and because he can't remember everything, but he's just like is pretending to get that pat on the head as the voiceover tells us. But then you have Lenny like sitting in that chair, and you think about the way in which even before he better understands the way in which he's blurred these stories in his mind, this is something that I've learned to do to cope in the world, to be less embarrassed by the way that my memory works. You pretend.
Yeah.
Devastating. Okay. I can't remember to forget you, the scene you think about the most.
This is a good example of a category that's like just really hard for this movie, I think. But again, I went with something early in the film that I think is not only just excellent in and of itself, but is such an effective primer for what the movie is going to be, and also such a lasting aspect of how you think about what it was. So I'm going with the first full glimpse of Leonard's tattooed torso and arms and legs as he is studying. He opens the envelope. He's studying John G's license. And then he's looking at all of his tattoos and recounting the information and the facts to himself. And then this is the stretch where on the heels, he has just explained to us his system and looked at this information. And then he goes to change. He sees everything. And then he will write, kill him. This is in this stretch, the path
He's
to
the
writing.
one.
Yeah, it's you. I found you. You fuck writing. He is the one. And then kill him. And we get to see, as he is refreshing on this and we are seeing for the first time, John G. raped and murdered my wife. Find him and kill him. She is gone. Time still passes. Consider the source. Memory is treachery. Don't trust your weakness. Eat, which he has placed strategically right above his own dick. I guess the idea is that that's where he's definitely going to look every day,
If his tummy is rumbling and he's like, oh, I should eat.
Maybe.
Would you get eat tattooed on your pubic bone?
In a very different... different reasons in a very different context. It's multifunctional, which is, I guess, good for Leonard. Something to think about.
I love that you felt like that you need to clarify that as if that's not exactly what I was talking about. In what font would you get the word eat tattooed
I've got some notes
bone?
on Leonard's font. Obviously, he's doing some of these himself.
Yeah,
and he's going to the parlor for some. That's another
stick and poke.
For us, the snapping of the pen to get the ink and the sterilized. For us, for people who have any familiarity with tattoos and the healing process, you can see the very raw red in certain areas. You're like, that's fresh, right? So many of these they're healed, right? They're your tattoo artist is posting this on Instagram, caught a healed one, so time has passed right away. But then we see the facts, right? Male, white, first name John or James, last name G, drug dealer. That's one of the very, very fresh ones, car license number, etc. So he thinks he's pieced this together. And it's just so harrowing because not only are we okay, wow, this is how the movie is going to function. This is what the visual language of the film and the journey of discovery repeat, right, inside of these scenes is going to be. But there's something that's just so indelible about that, kind of glimpse of the landscape using your own body as your notepad for these facts that you're amassing. And you wonder, it's such an effective way really quickly in the film to make you think, what would this person have had to go through to get to this point? Right. What is his reality that he is doing this? Yeah.
On his collarbone, you know what I mean?
One button off your shirt. It's the first thing anyone sees, right?
It's what Natalie is confronted with when she wakes up is that word. Yeah.
What does that tell you so quickly about his life?
What is written forwards and what is written backwards and what is written upside down or, right side up and all that sort of stuff like that. The one that really kills me is the first name John or James because it feels really clear because the or James is in a different, handwriting. So it just seems really clear to me that Teddy wanting to expand his options for drug dealers that they can go after is called him one day. It was just or it's James, let's just add other J names to your arm in perpetuity. What's going to happen to Lenny now that Teddy's no longer there to lead him around by the nose?
It's a great question, and I guess he'll keep finding ways because his purpose is completely entwined with being able to go on this perpetual hunt, right? To seek this vengeance endlessly. So I guess he is at the point where he will find a way to generate that for himself. I thought you were going to ask what happens when Leonard runs out of skin. Does he have to start getting tattoos removed so that he has fresh patches to then tattoo again?
His whole back is clear. He's got a lot of real estate.
I mean, at a certain point, though, he's going to run out. He's going to run out. Maybe he'll die before then.
Yeah, maybe Dot will just come back to town again. Really sketchy plan and just be get out of town, Dot.
I know. That part makes no sense. My guy Leobin, though. Always great to see him. All right. My answer for this is so Harriet Sansom Harris, who plays Mrs. Jenkins, who is perhaps a complete construction of Lenny's own mind. I love this actress. I met her. She was a long running guest star on Frasier, but she's also incredible in Phantom Thread. She's just great wherever she shows up. Yes.
I think she's so good in this movie. I think she runs away with a lot of the movie for me, and but it's just the scene where, she dies. Even if it's a fake memory, just again, and I also think Stephen Tobolowsky is really good. So just sort of his, cheerful and her despair
Yeah.
You know,
rewinding the clock hand every time.
and then just sort of like his absolute desolation once she's dead, you know, and his bewilderment.
Yeah.
Or even earlier, like when she's sort of like frustratedly yelling at him and he's just like confused and upset and all this sort of stuff like that. Or, you know, this is a classic smuggle, but like honestly, any of her scenes when she goes to talk to Lenny in his office, you know what I mean, is asking about her husband. But I think for me, it's you know, time for my shot. You know, it's just like that. I think about that a lot.
Yeah. It's really upsetting. I love those scenes because they like, I mean, I don't know that the much about the movie is subtle, but like, you know, meme bracket complimentary, right? Like I love the way that her character in particular asks the question of like, well, what would you be able to tolerate, really? Like if you were being honest with yourself, because the fact that the relationship that is presented to us is rooted in love, right? That it's like the framing is the reason it is so hard is because I look at him and I recognize the person who I love. And he is able to do these things for me that stem from care and preservation and a nurturing spirit inside of this partnership, but we can't break through beyond that. So the idea that the thing that keeps you together, your affection and your desire to help each other, would be the thing that made it impossible for you, even though you still loved that person, to actually accept. And like it would be really hard. Yeah. Even inside of the fiction and unreliability of the film feels like just a true note about interrogating like what people want to believe that they're capable of, and then what it looks like to actually try to navigate something that is really challenging. So I love that aspect of it too.
Swear to me. This movie is rated R, but still, if you could add, so like, unlike a lot of the other ones, this one's rated R. Yeah. So like, it's not at a loss for swear words, but we've been enjoying adding swear words to other Christopher Nolan movies, so I just thought we would do it here as well. So if you could add an extra F-bomb or any other swear, where would you put it?
Yeah, this was hard because there are so many fuck utterances in this film, and so like any scene that I thought, oh, this would be a good candidate, someone says fuck inside of that very scene. But even so, I will go with Bert in the like, oh, I've been found out with my multiple hotel rooms. He does actually say I fucked up in that scene, but later, a few lines later, when they're leaving the room, Leonard, always get a fucking receipt.
Yeah.
that would be my nominee. Oh yeah, I'm gonna write that down. Yeah. Always get a fucking receipt.
And then he doesn't. Yeah, I think Mark Boone Jr. is really good as Bert. I think you talk about bookend lines or bookend Polaroids. I think where the fuck was I?
Yeah.
As like a final line of this movie. I don't know. I'm actually have two minds about it because like it's a line that I wouldn't mind a little pepper on, but also like now where was I is so innocent and just sort of like now where like so casual. Now where was I?
Yes.
Because like all the agitation of the previous minutes are gone.
Right.
So I kind of
there's like a return to a foundational kind of like
state. Negging my own answer, but that was my best answer that I came up with.
I like it.
Amateurs seek the sun, get eaten, power stays in the shadows. Stealth MVP of this movie that not enough people talk about.
I thought this was hard because I think so many aspects of this film are widely celebrated.
It's so lean. So it's like, what haven't we explored?
Yeah, and this is the type of category where we'd normally be like the editing, but it's like, we're talking Oscar nom here, right? And you can't talk about the film without talking about the editing, things like that. I don't think it would be a good faith argument to pretend that people don't talk about the Polaroids as an iconic aspect of this film, but my pick will be inside of that. Specifically just the image choice in each photo, like the actual facial expression or positioning, the big, broad smile on Lenny's face and the blood on his body. And we're like, what has been captured here exactly? Or the fact that the Natalie Polaroid is opaque and obscured and like kind of like dappled in sun to the point where it's almost in shadow. The mugging
Annie would never, honestly.
I know. The mugging that Teddy is doing. So just like the specific, because in the flow of the film, Leonard is just like, hey, and sometimes he's like Teddy's like, well, let me move over here. And there's more of a kind of active pose. And sometimes he just takes a picture of Natalie before she even realizes what's happening. But then what the film is communicating through the actual image that has been captured of each of those people I really like. And then especially because, you get the like, oh, you got to burn it. You get the kind of crumpled, but you see like, oh, there's like a part of a body that you can still identify. And what mystery are we going to unravel next? So like, I wanted to just say like Joey Pants because I think he's the best, but I don't think that would be stealth necessarily.
No. My answer is twofold.
Okay.
The bleach job on Guy Pearce is doing a lot of work. I have a lot of questions about it, though, because it's not even like trying to be realistically blonde. It just looks like a bleach job. So how often does he have a tattoo somewhere that's like, remember to bleach your roots? Like,
right. Sure.
But he has the blonde hair in the flashbacks as well. So he was always bleaching his hair.
Yeah, neatly gelled.
Yeah, neatly gelled over. But like, again, that felt very like Brad Pitt, Jason, or something like that. But yeah, the bleach job on Lenny is doing a lot of good work. Just to put us in this sort of like dirtbag, late 90s, early aughts sort of noir era. But also, my honest answer is whatever pen he's using to write on the Polaroid that is inky enough that it like looks nice, but does not smudge.
It doesn't.
It never smudges. Yeah. It's not a ballpoint. It's a felt tip, but it doesn't smudge on the Polaroid.
It's important.
What miracle pen is this?
That's a great question. And where's the note that reminds him exactly which pen type that he likes best?
I'm sure it's somewhere. Yeah.
No question. That's a great pick. I love all of the penmanship aspects, like the fact that we learn he's got to learn to trust your own handwriting, right? And then the way that like he writes, he uses cursive. He uses, the
do not trust her.
Yeah, so that it can when he sees it later, he'll know to cross it out that it's not legit. Like that stuff is all. That's great.
All right. You're waiting on a train that will take you far away. Best dead wife moment.
Crowded field. Oh my God. Okay, I have a pick and then a couple runners up after you give your pick.
It's completely wild.
This is astonishing stuff. I will put a pin in it and come back to it when we finish the whole rewatch. But I think there's a chance that this stands the test of time as the ultimate winner of this category at the very end. Because it is just a quote about how cool it is to have a dead wife. And I would like to read it to you now. Teddy laying into Lenny about his sick
to have a dead wife.
He's like, man, you're just he's like, you're whiny. You gotta always keep seeking. And here's what he says. All you do is moan. I'm the one that has to live with what you've done. I'm the one that put it all together. You wander around, you're playing detective. You're living a dream, kid. A dead wife to pine for. A sense of purpose to your life. A romantic quest that you wouldn't end even if I wasn't in the picture. A character in this movie, Joey Pants' Teddy, says out loud in a Christopher Nolan film, you're living the dream, man. You got a dead wife.
So sick to have a dead wife.
Look at all that purpose.
Whoa.
Look at all that purpose.
Bro, such pining.
Your wife's
much
dead.
Pining.
You get to pine.
Such quest.
For your dead wife. Goals. Wild. I mean, oh my God.
Oh, it's extraordinary stuff.
Just incredible.
So I'm gonna bleed this into my next category because actually, I think Georgia Fox, who plays the aforementioned dead wife, is the person I would recast in this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
I think
that's a good pick.
I think it's a tough, unlike Marion Cotillard in Inception, she doesn't even she has one scene where she gets lines. You know what I mean? It's just so it's just a lot of and Georgia Fox was in CSI at this moment. She was an identifiable TV face, a West Wing CSI face that you could put in this movie. I just don't think she conveys dead wife to pine for in her performance here.
Tough feedback.
She's beautiful. She's beautiful, but I don't feel in the sort of romantic. I've seen many a dead wife paraded through the Nolan filmography, and this is, I think, maybe one of the most lackluster.
For you, this dead wife doesn't rate.
She just doesn't do it for me. Maybe he should have said when Joey Pants is like a dead wife to pine for. He's like, yeah, but I mean, a lesser dead wife, honestly, in the list of dead wives. Georgia Fox is a great live woman in certain things, but I don't think she's crushing it in the dead wife. Dead wife exists in flashbacks only.
Honestly, an incredible take.
Also, I don't understand why a woman with her hair texture would brush her hair with a boar bristle round brush. That's just her hairbrush. A boar bristle round brush. Nobody was on set to tell the Nolans this is not the brush that she would use. Really, like when that sex worker was like, "You want," and he's like, "Don't use it." She's like, "Listen, I don't want to. Do you know what this would do to my crunchy blonde curls? Bad things."
Yeah. More enthusiasm for asking if she should wear the bra than ultimately like really pushing to keep using the brush. Just put it around the room as though they were like your things.
I guess so. Late breaking. I think I am gonna give it to asking a prostitute to strew your dead wife's items around the room.
It's a choice.
If she had just placed the clock and the book and the brush somewhere, not to mention flung the bra somewhere.
Yep. Teddy bear.
Yeah, the teddy bear. The teddy bear. Oh Mallory, if I ever die, and you need to collect like a few of my possessions to remember me by, please let it not be a teddy bear.
What should it be?
There's so many options.
Pharamede?
Yeah. Well, no, the mead's gone, but like definitely some books for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
There's like plenty of items
Claudius
in my house.
the God and his wife.
But I would, not that book necessarily, but I would say I do have a teddy bear that I've owned since I was a child, but like exists in like a chest that I have with like blankets that I had as a child, but it's not like a thing that I cradle and own and cherish. It's just like a relic of my childhood.
Okay, I'll find other items. I'm committing now.
I don't think this woman, despite her questionable hairbrushing technique, I don't think she was like cradling that teddy bear around. I'm very confused.
Well, it is, he does kind of say when he's burning things.
How much of your,
how many times have I done this?
Is he scraping the bottom of the barrel?
So he might be like, we're deep into the possessions, though the fact that the book, this prized and sacred thing, is there.
It's so an interesting reread, honestly. But also, how many cars has he just abandoned with more of her stuff in it? You know what I mean?
Great question. Yeah.
Was there other stuff in the truck?
These tracks are fresh. Like bullets on the seat.
I don't know.
How many of my dead wives?
Does he still have that house?
I wonondered about that as well.
Does he go back and pilfer more items?
Some nice natural light in there, I thought.
Lovely.
The book scene is, we already talked about it, but that was one of my runners up just because it is like the parallel to Leonard's own experience when you're like, well, what, how much of this experience of reading this book is about what you remember and retain versus what it feels like to navigate it. It's, again, not subtle, but it's good. I like, as another runner up, when Natalie tells Leonard to just like close your eyes and really remember. And we're flashing and everything we see. And he's saying these like beautiful things. You can just feel the details, the bits and pieces you never bothered to put into words. You put these together and you get the feel of a person enough to know how much you miss them. That's a very moving moment of the film. But I love that everything we see. Now, you could turn this the other way and say, interesting, that dead wife never left the house. We never really got to see any other experience.
She loved that kitchen. She loved to gaze out the window of her kitchen that she was imprisoned in and then sit at the table.
Maybe she only read one book because she never got to go to the bookstore.
Floral dresses.
Possible. But I do like that every moment we see is like routine, that's the kind of thing he's remembering, not like a honeymoon or a grand like experience, just like what it was like to be in a home that you shared with this person.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting. I've seen many side-by-sides on the old internet of like, they're pretty much near identical shots of Mal in Inception and Georgia Fox's character in this movie.
Yeah.
Also true to form. Is this right? Oh no, Catherine. She has a name, Catherine. That's true. Mrs. Jenkins does not have a name. She's a fictional creation, but she's just Sammy's wife.
Listen, Gwyn was named in Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Don't be greedy.
But
don't be greedy.
Catherine Shelby just wandering around this kitchen where she is in prison, her little loop of the kitchen and the bedroom and the kitchen and the bedroom and the bathroom in the middle of the night. That's her. But yeah, there are shots like her lying sideways in the bed, her sitting at the kitchen table. There are identical shots of Marion Cotillard in Inception. And I hope that was intentional, but it's also possible that when Christopher Nolan's like, what does a wife do? And he's like, lay in a bed, sit at a table, or if it's his own wife, answer all my emails and my phone calls for me. I don't know. What does a wife do? I love Nolan movies.
They're the best. Oh, man.
He's the hero Gotham deserves, not the one it needs right now. I already answered this one, but who was regrettably miscast in this movie?
I'm going to go with your pick. I think that's, your case is strong, and I think that's the right answer. Let me toss out a kind of hot take contender here, though.
Okay.
I don't even think I agree with this. I don't agree with it, as I suggested, but I want to float it for a reason. Okay. We both love Big Steve. Just had when we were doing Basic Instinct, there was a fascinating, like, that guy for Tobolowsky. And it's like, in some ways you could say he's like the ultimate.
I think he is.
That guy, like, he's the ultimate guy.
I tried to argue that on the Sneakers Rewatchables.
That's right.
That
yes.
I thought
and
he should replace Joey Pantoliano.
And, and then this keeps none of us can break through.
But I'm with you, Steven.
I
you deserve it.
Every time he shows up, I'm thrilled. He's great. So I do not want to recast him because I think he's always wonderful. And I really agree with what you said earlier, that like expression, what he is conveying with his eyes and the wideness and the face is so effective at communicating what the Sammy character is supposed to communicate to us. So I asked this for one reason and one reason only, and we can just discard it right away if we don't like it. Is there any logic to recasting him with an actor who's a different actor, but looks more like Guy Pearce to make the, like, wait, are Lenny and Sammy the same character thing?
Brad Pitt.
Thomas Jane.
Tommy Jane. No, if I were to put Thomas Jane in this movie, I would put him in the Callum Keith Rennie. Okay.
Oh, yeah. He'd be a good dad.
I think Callum Keith Rennie is really good in Battlestar, obviously, as you already shouted him out. I don't think he's great in this movie.
No. And he has like 2.5 minutes.
I also think Lariat Holden, who plays Jimmy, is also not that great. I think there are some people down the cast list, and by down the cast list, I mean number 6 and 7, because it's a very short cast list. But, like, we're saving money. We're doing our best. But I feel like, were we to make this now, that would be Cillian Murphy.
It would be, yeah.
And you know that to be true.
It's definitely true. Jimmy, he wore that suit well, I will say. He wore that suit well.
I just think Natalie
should have been filthy, by the way. He was, like, dragged across the floor. He was being choked to death. He probably should have shit his pants.
This is the thing that Leonard does. Like, why does he take off his clothing and put on Jimmy's clothing?
I don't know.
This is like,
and how many times has he done something
is this
that?
Was the plaid shirt the previous Jimmy, like the previous John G's plaid shirt? Is this a part of his ritualistic killing?
I think that is a really reasonable deduction because, again, who knows how accurate, if at all, any of the flashbacks that we've seen are, but, like, you're not getting that, like, I'm wearing, like, plaid and a vest and driving my pickup
He's
vibes.
a Mad Men kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but again, is any of it
So this is his trophy is, like...
Yeah, he's, like, taking
the suit in the car.
He's not taking their literal skin, but, like, the skin of the life that they lead.
I mean, it's great for the movie because he shows up to the bar in Jimmy's suit, in his car. It's you can't come in here, like, looking like that. Like, all of that stuff is really good.
Yeah.
But, like, why does he do that?
It's
a bizarre thing to do.
Perhaps he never wrote himself a note saying, like, do your laundry and buy new clothes. So it's like, So he's using Don's shower and soap and towel. Like,
so this thing that I have, like, dragged through the dirt and it's possibly got some blood stains on it or whatever. This is what, it looks great on him.
It does.
It looks really good.
It does.
Yeah. Okay. Tobo. You're gonna recast Tobo.
No, I couldn't bring myself to say it with as Shea Serrano would say. I couldn't say it with my chest. I couldn't say it with my chest.
You don't really want to work it out. You want to be fooled. Most satisfying twist.
It's the ending.
Yep, Sammy Jenkins.
Okay.
Right?
Well, so let's use this as a since it's so obvious and we agree. And there are fun little twists and reveals along the way.
When I took several categories out, I was like, should I take the twist category out of Memento?
The movie. There are a lot of great...
There are many twists.
Yeah, like everything with Natalie. Yeah. Like, is really satisfying. Yeah, Teddy.
Multiple motel rooms.
Yes, yeah. Okay, but let's just, since we agree, it's the ending, and it's specifically, like, Leonard's choice about what he is going to tell himself, right? You think I just want another puzzle to solve, another John G to look for. You're John G, so you can be my John G. Do I lie to myself to be happy in your case? Teddy, yes, I will. Chills. Where are you on how much of what Teddy tells Lenny is true? Well, it's a good moment to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, that's a great prompt. So Nolan has said, that definitely something happened in the bathroom. Like, that's not invented. So definitely something happened in the bathroom. Whether or not the insulin thing happened is not something that he has confirmed one way or another.
Right.
I think it's a better story if it is true.
I agree.
If Leonard killed his wife. Because I think the core of his quest to avenge the person who killed his wife, and he is the person who killed his wife.
Then you never reach the end. Yeah.
And like you're so consumed with, because in theory, well, of course, because not in theory, she survives the attack. So it's not like immediate, like as soon as he lost his ability to make memories, he wasn't immediately on this vengeance quest. There was a moment in his life when he was just like pinching her thigh and giving her injections or whatever. So like he was living a more sedate post-accident life.
Yeah.
And then he is so traumatized, not just by what happened in the bathroom, but by his, I mean, did he kill her? Could you say that directly?
Right.
But like in his complicity in that, that he's then driven on this unsolvable quest to find the person when he's the person who did it, you know?
Harrowing to confront.
Penrose stairs of just sort
That's
of
right.
like, you know, you're running around.
Exactly. I am in the same place. So my feeling on it is like
similar to Cobb, you know, Cobb being like, I did this to her, you know?
Joey Pants, like you couldn't have a more perfect person in that scene because he is, and I'm blanking on where Nolan said this, but I know I'm paraphrasing, but he has said like, oh, it's really fascinating to the Nolans that like many people who see this movie don't want to believe Teddy because they've seen.
It's classic. Honestly, that's classic Fight Club like behavior.
And also
or like having a poster of Scarface on your wall, honestly.
Yes. And also like
loving Breaking Bad.
This
You're just
idea-
like, Walt, what a guy.
I'm rooting for you. Redemption is possible. Is there an epilogue? Is there a stinger? Haven't given up
Are we
yet.
sure he's dead? I'm not sure.
But the idea that you've basically been conditioned all movie through Leonard, don't believe his lies, and then you get maybe the truth, but you're like primed to believe it is a lie, and you're rooted in Leonard's experience and point of view, such that there is a point of view that you can be rooted in.
Right.
But like
Lenny, what a guy.
Joey Pants is a smart ass, and this is part of his the undying charm. Like he's like a little bit of a demon in all of these scenes, and he's so funny and witty and sharp, and like, you know, the acid that is like drenched over every word he says. But he's played a lot of bad guys over the years, and so you're not always like, Joey Pants is definitely playing a good guy. And so especially because you have this
he's
crooked
not playing
cop.
a good guy. Yeah, he's not
exactly.
playing a good guy in this.
You have all of these reasons, even in this scene, this moment of reveal, to say, well, you have your own agenda. You have a reason that was just presented clearly to deceive Leonard, to lead him to a place that suits you. You also know he won't remember this. So there's all of that in the brew. And yet, despite that, my feeling on it, and I love that, and this is like, you know, we've had so many Nolan movies that have a version of this, like you can just keep debating it forever. And that's part of what's fun and interesting about it, that there's like an invitation to the viewer to say, well, what do you think about this? I'm not going to tell you definitively. Maybe it'll be pretty clear, but it's not definitive. And I feel that what Teddy says about, like, you killed this guy a year ago, and I thought it would to pull you out of this.
I love that line delivery when he's like, I thought so too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's just like something there's emotion there.
Yes. Like, to me, that feels definitively true.
I agree.
The Sammy Lenny one is a little bit more, how do I feel about this? But I also land where you land because I think it's a more interesting story if that's the case. And the fact that, like, ultimately the key in that moment is that Leonard does not know. And
I think it's because he refuses to accept it that makes it feel all the more true.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. It's not who I am underneath. But what I do that defines me. Nolan is not known for his sexual content, but let's go ahead and try to excavate the horniest moment of this film. I think there's a clear answer here.
Tell me.
And maybe this reveals something about me. I believe it is Natalie spitting in the beer. The way that Carrie-Anne Moss does that.
What?
I think is extremely horny.
Oh my God. I love this pick. Incredible. Yeah.
There's just something the way that she spits.
Spitting on something else.
She's known, she knows her way around a spit. That's what I think.
Also, I have no notes on this pick.
Do they fuck? Is that your interpretation?
So I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
But there are horny moments around. This is obviously like kind of a fraught aspect of this where like Leonard could not.
What's sex life for, like, because the timing is inconsistent for when his memory resets.
In that stretch in particular.
And so could his memory reset mid-act?
Yeah, and I assume
And
that's
he's
part
like,
of why he's probably
not
engaging,
right?
Because he wouldn't remember like how he started.
Yeah.
So that's tough. The spitting is just an iconic choice. I have really no notes on that. That's incredible.
I think she's incredible. I think she's, for my sort of like late 90s into early aughts sort of aesthetic moment or whatever, I think she's hotter in this even than she is in The Matrix. I think she's so hot.
1A and 1B.
I think she's so hot in this movie. Like the smudged eyeliner, just like.
She looks great.
I think she is, and like how, like her disdain, the way that she manipulates him, but then the way that she is actually like has some tenderness for him as well is just like femme fatale at its finest.
She's great.
Really
the way she says freaky tattoos is lovely. I will throw out another Natalie nominee when they wake up together and then he's getting dressed and leaving. The way she kisses him as they part and says, I think you will, like, remember me. Like, I'm going to give you a reason. And then he doesn't, which is pretty sad.
Tough.
But for like 0.5 seconds there, it was pretty hot.
There's also a shot of her, you know, after he's told the story about, you know, the warmth in the bed, they just got up or something like that. And she's sort of doing the same, thinking about Jimmy.
Yes.
Her eyes, I mean, like her eyes are so beautiful.
Gorgeous.
They both have beautiful, beautiful, like blue-green eyes. And like when they're sitting across from each other at the diner, it's just sort of like flash on flash, like gorgeousness. But there's a shot of her in the bed in the dark and her eyes are just kind of like flashing in the darkness. And I just think that she is wonderful in this movie. And similar to Guy Pearce, I think Karen Moss is forever Trinity in The Matrix. So that is like something that has cemented her career forever.
Yes.
But I think she should have been so much bigger than she was.
If only the Acolyte had taken off.
Yeah, that wouldn't have helped her, would it?
I don't know. So nobody picked the Dodd and Lenny naked shower fight. Interesting.
Well, you could pick that if you want to.
There's my runner-up.
Okay. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
An idea is like a virus, resilient, highly contagious. The line that hits the hardest 25-ish years later.
Is Can't Remember to Forget You disqualified because it's one of the names of our category, or is it allowed?
You can use it.
I think that's pretty good for a reason. It's memorable for a reason. Probably tried this before.
I think mine is
burned truckloads of your stuff. Can't Remember to Forget You.
Yeah, that one's really good. If we can't make memories, we can't heal is mine. So it's like they're very similar, of the same vein. I think I Can't Remember to Forget You. I think whoever wrote that line, whether it was Christopher himself, whether Jonah was involved, whether Emma tossed it out from the other room when she was stuck in the kitchen or whatever, I don't know. But like Emma Nolan is very accomplished, obviously. That was just a joke about poor Catherine Shelby being stuck in the kitchen. Emma Nolan's not stuck in the kitchen. But whoever wrote that line, let's give it to Chris. I love him. He's great. I hope that he bought himself something shiny that day. It's a
really
great
good
line. I hope he felt great writing it.
Really great. I have a few runners up that are a little less maybe like, oh, people are still quoting it years later, but that I find very impactful. Early in the film, Teddy, gun to his face, Lenny poised to shoot him. You don't know who you are. I'm Leonard Shelby. I'm from San Francisco. That's who you were. That's not what you've become. I just love that exchange. And then especially because we see it, in the process of the film that earlier he has said versions of that, but the way he says it there.
Where is that house in San Francisco?
Whew,
Great
question.
I don't think so.
Great question. Leonard and Natalie
I think
at
when
the
he
cafe.
says he's from San Francisco, what he really means is he's from Marin or possibly
some
like Piedmont. But I don't think he's from San Francisco.
Some Northern California geography from you here. Yeah.
They're in like a little like idyllic little cottage suburbia home that doesn't exist in San Francisco proper, from just outside of San Francisco.
Oh man. Leonard and Natalie at the cafe. This is when she says, you're not even going to remember your revenge if you get it. And this is when he says, the world doesn't just disappear when you close your eyes, does it? Like, which obviously comes back into play at the end. So that's a great line and a great idea and a very interesting and rich idea. Boy, on the like beautiful, Joey Pants is bringing a lot of levity and a lot of menace, but then he has these like quiet, gentle little moments that just will in the middle of a scene like knock you over. And one of my favorite examples of that in this film with his performance, his portrayal of Teddy, is when Lenny and Teddy are having lunch and Teddy's just like trying to remind Lenny, like, you actually are alive. Like, you're not gone. And Lenny says, he destroyed my ability to live. And then Teddy reaches over and he just like puts his hand on to feel the pulse. Like, you're living. It's perfect. And the way he says it is just so memorable to me.
Was he saying for revenge?
Yes, only for revenge.
Only for revenge.
And then lastly, Teddy.
Should I do that to you next time you come in and you're like, I'm so tired and I feel like I'm dying, and I'll just gently put my hand on your throat and say, you're living.
You're living. And I'll say, only for this podcast. And then we'll see what happens 1 hour and 53 minutes later. Teddy, when he's cornered by Lenny at the Jimmy G hit. So you lie to yourself to be happy. There's nothing wrong with that. We all do it, which is just so true. So Teddy just like bringing the gospel there.
That takes me to the next category. You think darkness is your ally, but you merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. All right. So most devastating moment, I think it's Lenny lying to himself.
Yeah.
You know, like the revelation that he perhaps had a hand in killing his wife, all these other things for sure, but like that he knowingly creates a puzzle for himself to solve. I'll do it. You know, you'll be my John G, right?
Very tough.
We're just like thinking about him like redacting the police files, you know,
oh
just
my God,
like
pulling out the 12 pages and
just to create a narrative that can work for his broken brain is really tough.
That's a great pick. I'm going with, let's bring the dead wife back for another minute here. When Teddy is in bed with Natalie and they're talking about her, which was a scene I've already mentioned, but I just find this is like the performance from both of them in this scene is so good. I don't even know how long she's been gone. This is what he says. And like, it just really bowls you over. Like to think about what would that be like to not even know the period of loss that has come to define every aspect of your existence. We've already talked about the scene a number of times because this is what builds toward, I lie here not knowing how long I've been alone. So how can I heal? How am I supposed to heal if I can't feel time? So it's like, it's a good kind of mission statement for so many of the things that this movie, but also just like Nolan more broadly is interested in exploring, you know, loss and grief and pain and memory and time and healing and wounds and how these things are all entwined. And this like examination of how, you know, if you're not able to feel that time and to heal because you understand that time is passing and like emotionally, intellectually, when you lose someone, you're like, this will never stop hurting as much as it does right now. But like, you know, the nature of just moving through the world is that one day you realize like it's been a little longer than it was yesterday since I thought about this, right? And that like Lenny can't have that.
And you form new attachments and new connections, which he can't do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, because there's the really intense, like, you know, can you even get afraid? Like, can you feel fear? You know, can you get scared? But then, right, what are the other things that he's not able to feel, you know? And how does that all then form the kind of like smoothie of his experience every day? It's just, oh man.
How am I supposed to heal if I can't feel time? I just, again, if you can find season 1 of Westworld, I really recommend you watch it. It's just, that is like a thesis of that show. Okay. For me, I think this is the end of a beautiful friendship. Actors who never returned to the Nolanverse but should have. You have Guy Pearce here.
Yeah. I was like, hey, you know, it's pretty weird that Guy Pearce has never been in another Nolan movie. What's up with that? And there's a Vanity Fair article from very recently, from 2024, the Brutalist run. I would like to read you this passage.
Hit me.
And who knows, right? This is Guy Pearce his accounting of it. But I was like, what? Have you been in touch with Christopher Nolan over the years? Not really, but he spoke to me about roles a few times over the years. The first Batman and The Prestige. But there was an executive at Warner Brothers who quite openly said to my agent, I don't get Guy Pearce. I'm never going to get Guy Pearce. I'm never going to employ Guy Pearce. So in a way, that's good to know. I mean, fair enough. There are some actors I don't get, but it meant I could never work with Chris. Bracket, Warner Brothers had not responded to a request for comment. And then the follow-up question, wait, hold on. So an exec at Warner Brothers just had a no Guy Pearce policy? Did you do something to offend him? I think he just didn't believe in me as an actor. So there were times when Nolan was like, hey, my old buddy Guy would be great. And the exec said, no Guy? Yes. They flew me to London to discuss the Liam Neeson role for Batman. It's like wild. And I think it was decided on my flight that I wasn't going to be in the movie. So I got there and Chris is like, hey, you want to see the Batmobile and get dinner? Decent consolation prize, honestly. Listen, Nolan's done with Warner Brothers now, so now my time has come. There had to be some explanation for why he was never in another Nolan movie, but like, that's a fucking bummer. That's a hot bummer.
Interesting. But he's not in the Odyssey that we know of. Wouldn't it be great if Guy Pearce just shows up somewhere in the Odyssey?
Rowing a boat.
Yeah, rowing a boat.
Great. Get him in there. It's not too late.
He's like, we're not at Warner Brothers anymore, so it's time to work together. Okay. Interesting. Maybe this needs to be like the Cillian Murphy story where it's just like Guy is the lead of his next movie and Guy wins his Oscar for it.
That would be wonderful.
I wouldn't have been mad if he had won for The Brutalist. He's very, very good at The Brutalist and he was nominated. I wouldn't have been mad about that. But,
I agree. Yeah.
You know, okay. Yeah, Guy Pearce is probably my answer, but I mean, Joey Pants also.
Yeah.
Or Carrie-Anne Moss. Why not? Mark Boone Jr. and Tom Lennon, who are in this movie, are both also in other. Or Harriet Sansom Harris. Like, honestly, there's a lot of options in this movie.
Is it too late to get Joey Pants in the Odyssey?
Oh, he's in the Odyssey. You didn't know this? He plays the head siren.
He can do it. Yeah. There's nothing he can't do. Yeah. There's nothing Joey Pants can't do.
With the Teddy mustache. It's the Teddy mustache, but like, you know, he's just warbling like a dream. It's great. Wouldn't you throw yourself overboard for Joey Pants?
Without hesitation.
I know. I agree. Okay. Some men just want to watch the world burn. The most Nolan thing about this movie.
I mean, it's just all of it.
Memory, time.
Yeah. The nonlinear structure, I think like we talked about at the top of the pod.
But it's legibility inside of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of it.
A category that I snipped out that we often do is this idea of like the great man.
Yes.
And I just don't think that concept really exists in this movie.
Too much dead wife.
Yeah.
To make room for
we had
great
to turn down a little bit of the dead wives to make room for the great man.
The recalibration is coming. Like 30 seconds for dead wife and then all great man. I had to balance it across time.
I don't know. Oppenheimer has a lot of room for dead girlfriend, which I think counts. So,
That's
you know.
True.
All right.
And so does Inception.
All right. Our greatest accomplishments cannot be behind us. What aspect of Nolan's upcoming The Odyssey are you thinking about / most hyped for this month?
Trials. I think, you know, the idea of like trials on the road to a goal.
I love it. You and I have different interpretations of this category every time, which is like, you're like, how does this movie make me think about the audience?
Yeah.
Here's my answer. Tom Holland. Tom Holland has seen The Odyssey.
Yeah.
He says it's a masterpiece. I mean, he says that there are sequences that he was insisted had to be CGI, and Nolan's like, nope.
Great
That's
stuff.
Practical effects, buddy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of planning and a lot of money in the Adriatic Sea. So you know what? Here we go. We're gonna do it. Anything else you want to say? Okay, so trials, you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I can't believe The Odyssey's in 3 months. I'm hyped.
Okay. Which Nolan movie should we do next?
Let's see. So we have
The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, have you heard of them? It's classic us to not have done those yet. Following Insomnia, Tenet, Oppenheimer.
hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com. Have you some thoughts and feelings? Actually, I have an idea, but I don't want to say it yet.
I think we're thinking the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
If the scheduling works.
Yes.
I think that should be next.
Okay, great. All right.
It's like, what the fuck are they talking about? But we know.
We know. We're locked in. All right. Anything else you want to say?
I was literally going to text you that yesterday when you mentioned. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. It was on my mind, honestly, when I sent it to you. Okay. It's fine. Don't worry. This all stays in. Who should we thank today?
Oh, man. Let's see.
Carlos Chiriboga. Scott Lee.
Jacob is here with us.
Jacob's here.
Again. The whole crew.
Everyone here.
Arjuna, Ramgopowell.
Arjuna, Jomi, Adeniran.
Yeah, we saw Jack Wilson earlier. Let's say hi to Jack. Thank you to the whole crew. What a wonderful time here at Sycamore.
We'll be back with the Daredevil check-in. What percentage of that podcast am I allowed to dedicate to Dex?
As much as you want.
Great. We'll be back for a Dex check-in.
But you do have to make a sunny side up egg for a cat at some point.
On the regular.
Great.
My cat? I don't know that I want to give my cat an egg. I feel like she would just vomit it up.
She would like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will make an egg for my cat and I will film it.
Great.
For you.
Content.
And the Instagram, perhaps. I will not, however, be having a banana milkshake.
It's funny. Adam and I had a pretty long discussion about that. I think that sounds delicious.
One flaw, I would say.
That sounds delicious. I like a banana pudding. I like a banana ice cream. Banana cream pie.
No.
Banana and cream pairs wonderfully together.
No.
Okay. Well,
banana in a smoothie.
You can fix him. Well, sure. But that's a whole different thing.
But like, where's banana? Okay, maybe I'm stepping in the Daredevil pod, but where's banana rank on like if you had all the flavors to choose from in your milkshake?
It wouldn't be my first choice.
Is it above strawberry?
But it's probably delicious. No, certainly not. I love a strawberry milkshake.
So like the Neapolitan flavors, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry are going above. Is it above an Oreo milkshake?
Depends on the mood. And it depends on the establishment. Are they known for their banana milkshakes?
I think banana's just like I would take a coffee milkshake over it. I love coffee is like my number one
coffee
favorite.
ice cream.
Like that's my number one favorite.
Oh.
I would take like a mint chip milkshake over banana. Like banana is just like so. Actually, I think if they said we only have banana, I would say I will not be having a milkshake.
Leave.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say give me plain vanilla. They would say we don't have it. I said that's impossible because you have to start with vanilla and add the banana to it. So there's no way you don't have vanilla milkshake. And they would just be like, sorry. And I would go.
What if they were using a banana ice cream?
Disgusting.
Delicious.
Absolutely filthy.
Oh, there's a banana ice cream that I love. You have to order it from Kentucky, but I will be doing that so that you can taste it.
From
Crank and Boom on Gold Belly.
State of Kentucky.
Delicious. Worth it.
I would rather we go to Kentucky than you fly a milkshake from Kentucky.
It arrives. It's not a milkshake. It's a pint of ice cream to prove to you that you can make the banana ice cream from the pint. There's chocolate in it too. It's wonderful.
Well, we'll be back.
Carlos, you can just clip all of that and put it in the Daredevil pod.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you to you, Mallory. We will be continuing with Nolan, hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com if you have strong thoughts about which Nolan movie, about milkshakes, banana or otherwise, or about Daredevil, feeding eggs to cats, anything else. We will look forward to that. We'll see you soon. Bye.